One of the things that I often hear from people when they're thinking about purchasing a new construction home is that the process seems overwhelming. They just don't know where to start, they don't know how the entire process will go, and if you've never built a new construction home before, it can seem that way. What I want to do in this video is I want to break down the process into easy steps for you so that you know exactly what to expect when purchasing a new construction home. Hi, I'm Evan Whaley, your favorite Greenville realtor. So let's start at the very beginning. What's the first step? What's the first thing you should do? I would actually recommend talking to a lender first. So people watching this video who've purchased a new construction home before may say, well, hey, isn't it sometimes better to work with the on-site lender because I get incentives, which is completely true, and we'll get more into that in this video as well. But just to know exactly what kind of purchase range you're comfortable with, to fit everything into your monthly budget, and to just go ahead and start shopping to get an understanding of what the market rates are, go ahead, speak with a lender, go through the process, and get a good understanding of all of those things. The second step in the process is actually to pick out your real estate agent. A lot of people will go into these new construction communities and they'll realize that there is a real estate agent there, which is 100% true most of the time. That real estate agent actually represents the builder. So they can draw up a contract for you and they could send it over to the builder, but just remember they are represented by the builder. They're paid by them directly. So they're not there to represent your best interest. It doesn't mean that they're trying to take advantage of you or they're trying to do anything really horrible, but at the end of the day, they are there to represent that builder. So if you want to get the best possible agreement and have someone that's protecting your best interest, make sure you have your own representation. So pick out your own agent. Find someone that's well-versed in new construction. I feel like that's really important for several reasons. One is, if someone knows new construction, they should know how the process is supposed to go so they can guide you through it and make it more seamless. Second is, they understand what kind of repairs need to be done, they understand when inspections need to be done, and a lot of other things that will help benefit you to get the highest quality product. Third is, they've got relationships with all the other agents that are new construction agents. So they can help find the best deal, the best communities. They've already got insights into what's going on in the market. One of the things that I found as I've done more and more new construction deals is those relationships with the other agents, the builder agents, can be really beneficial. It helps save us a ton of time because we know what communities will really fit for our buyers' needs. And second, I'm one of the first people they notify about some incentives that they have going on. And if they've got any extras that they could throw out there for a buyer client of mine, I find that a lot of them will because we have a relationship now and we've done business together and they know how I conduct business and I know how they conduct business. So overall, it's a huge advantage to work with somebody that consistently does new construction transactions. So number 3, now that we have your team put together, you know what you can afford, you've got a lender in place, you've got your agent in place, now it's actually time to start looking into the builders. What I would highly recommend that you do is figure out what builders are building in the location that you want to be in. And say there's 10 builders that build in those locations. Next thing I would do is actually go and travel around and look at those specific communities to make sure that they fit your needs. Every community tends to offer different things. You know, if you must have sidewalks or you must have a community pool, you can of course find out a lot of information from your real estate agent and online. You could figure out if they have the community pool, the sidewalks, and a lot of those things that you might want. And that may help you eliminate some of the communities because they may just not offer exactly what you're looking for. After you've kind of eliminated some of them, I would do a driving tour of just the communities. I wouldn't go in and see any models or anything yet, but that will really help you filter things down. So maybe you went from 10 potential options down to 6, and then after you drive around, you might find 4 different options. At that point, what I would do is get your real estate agent involved and you guys go out and tour the model homes in those communities that you like of those specific builders that fit your needs. After you've seen the models, and just remember the models are going to be the best of the best that that builder offers. I would also look at specific homes that they've built, ones that are in the end phase so that you can really get a feel for what the quality is on their everyday product. And don't go when they're in the blue tape phase, when they're trying to paint and fix up the flooring and do all the things. Like, try to find it when it's really close to being finished. So, they've got a client that's closing in a week or whatever, that product should be pretty much done so you can see what the house looks like so you can get a really good feel for what your home would look like as well. And when you're in the models and when you're touring these homes that are already finished that fit the floor plan that you're looking for, I would also just ask questions to the builder's agent. Have your agent ask questions and share additional information just to figure out what makes all these builders different, because there's normally one or two things that they really specialize in so that you can get an understanding what's important to you and if what this builder does really fits for what you're looking for. So now you have your whole team in place, you've gone through several different models, you've found the floor plan and the builder that works perfectly for you. The fourth step is actually to pick out the right lot now. So that community likely has several different lots that are available for you to build on. Now there's several things that you should keep in mind when you pick a lot. The first is your own personal preferences, which as you're watching this video, you probably already know what those are. The second thing would be resale value. So as we talk about resale value, there's several different things, and I probably can't cover all of them in this video. But a few things you might want to be on the lookout for is your home near the community retention pond? So the retention pond here in South Carolina can either be a dry pond or a wet pond. So if you're near it, find out specifically what kind of pond it is and how it will be maintained by the HOA. If it's a site for sore eyes, it could potentially harm you when you go to sell your property. If it's not, I have seen cases where it actually can increase the resale value because it creates more privacy and it creates a buffer between the neighbors and no one could ever build on the retention pond. So some people actually like and enjoy that. So just kind of figure that out specifically. Other things, if there's power lines that are within view, if there's any big factories, which that's really kind of a community thing as well. Are you near the community mailboxes? Is your house near the access to community amenities? A lot of these different things are important when you think about picking out a lot. So again, make sure you have a true advisor that's there to help you through picking out the right lot that not only fits your needs, but also will not harm you for future resale value, and hopefully will actually be a big benefit because you have one of the best lots in the neighborhood. Step number 5, after you've already picked out your lot, you've got everything else in place, is actually to negotiate and get the best possible offer with the builder. Now there's two parts of this. One is negotiating the best possible offer, like I mentioned, which means getting you the best price, closing costs, getting you the lowest interest rate if there is an option for that to use the builder's lender, and several other factors there. The second part of this is actually protecting your best interest. Most builders have their own specific contract that is written by their own attorney team. You just really need to know what the ins and outs of that contract are, know what you are and are not obligated to do, and just kind of get an understanding of what that contract says specifically. There's a lot of different nuances to it, and it's not the state-specific contract, it's their own. So you really want to make sure you have a good understanding of what you're signing up for and just have clear, proper expectations of what the rest of the process will look like. At this point, you've gone through the contract, you've got an understanding of what it is, you've negotiated a great deal, you have an accepted offer. Congratulations, the process now truly starts. I didn't want to call this next part an actual step, but it is something super important that I feel like people really need to know about. You're likely going to wait a month to 3 months before anything truly starts to happen and come to fruition on your build. And this is due to several different reasons, but basically what's happening right now is the builder has to go to the city and the county and they've got to get plans approved. They've got to get the lot leveled out to build the home that you want to build, and potentially they may need to actually purchase the lot from the developer that owns it. So there's several things that are happening in the background, and this stuff also depends on weather. So just keep all of this in mind, that you may wait a little while before things really start to come to fruition. Step number 6 is actually going to the design center. At the design center, you're actually going to pick out a lot of things like your flooring, your cabinet, your wall colors, and so many other things. A huge tip that I tell people before you go to the design center, have an idea of what style of home you're hoping to build and what kind of finishes that you're looking for. I would not recommend going to the design center without having thought about a lot of these things already. Thinking about your cabinet colors, what kind of, are you gonna go with granite, are you gonna go with quartz, you're gonna go with marble, what are you gonna go with in your kitchen and what kind of color scheme do you want? Think about your flooring, what's important to you. Just get a really good sense of what you're actually thinking. You don't need to design out every square inch of your house because that's what the design center is for, but just having an idea of what kind of colors and what kind of style you're looking for will save you a lot of time and frustration. What I find is when people come to the design center and they haven't thought about any of these elements before, it becomes kind of a crazy process because they're changing multiple times because they're unsure because they haven't had an opportunity to really think through these things. So look at pictures, you can use sites like Pinterest and a lot of other places to really get an idea and start to really create your vision. Now just note, you might not be able to find the exact product that you found in these pictures, but just picking out a style, do I like shaker style cabinets? Do I like white cabinets? Do I want a blue, a green, whatever the case may be, just get an idea before you actually go. How many options you'll have and what you'll get to pick out will really depend upon the builder. Some builders have tons of options and it's almost like you literally pick out every square inch of your home, and others you pick out a lot less. And some of that's good and bad, just kind of depending on your personality and how many decisions you want to make. So if we go back one step and actually talk about the offer phase, typically in the offer, you're going to negotiate the base price of the home and you're going to negotiate the structural elements that you're going to add. Structural elements will be things like adding a patio, adding a covered porch, adding a deck, adding windows, just different things that are truly a structural component of the home. So those things will all be in at the initial contract phase. Then the design center, you will add on additional cost. I typically recommend that people budget somewhere between 10 to 15% of the base price of the home in additional upgrades. And you'll want to talk specifically with your own agent and with the builder's agent to get an idea of what's going to be reasonable, because sometimes it's more than that, sometimes it's less than that, and you just want to have a good budget in mind so that you make sure that you don't go in above budget or that you don't go crazy and spend too much money in the design center. So step number 7, the builder's actually going to pour the foundation at this point. Depending on what kind of foundation you have, if it's an elevated foundation here in South Carolina, like if it is a crawl space or a basement, I would highly recommend getting an inspection done before the build proceeds past that point. You just want to make sure that you have a really good, strong foundation, that the footers and everything were poured correctly. So just make sure you get an inspector for that phase. After the foundation is poured, the next thing is they're actually going to be working on the frame. So all of the wood's going to be going up. They're going to be putting the roof over your house. They're going to be putting the entire components and all the mechanicals together. This is a huge part of the process where you definitely need to make sure you have an inspector come in and make sure that everything was done correctly. Now, of course, the city and the county and wherever you're at will have their own code inspections that they'll need to pass. And overall, they do a really great job, but hiring a private inspector that's working just on your behalf, that's a third party, that can spend several hours looking at the build in the home, that is really important. And I found that people always find something that needs to be corrected. And at this phase of the build, it's super important because once that drywall goes up, you have no idea what's behind those walls, and it's much harder to make any fixes or corrections, and maybe even impossible at that point. So make sure you get those inspections taken care of so that you get a great quality home that's going to have a lot of longevity. After the frame's been put together, the next time that you'll have a scheduled meeting with the builder will actually be to see your finished home. In this stage of the process, typically you're going to go through and you're going to look at more cosmetic things. You're going to put blue tape on walls to make sure you get the house painted perfectly and that everything's sanded down just right, and so that everything looks really nice and beautiful for you to move into your home. So you've done all this, you've got your final product. After that, you're going to have a final walkthrough that's scheduled. So the builder has done all of these little cosmetic repairs that you've requested. They fixed all the things from your inspector. You're looking through the home for the final time before you close to make sure that everything was done properly. And then the last step is to actually close on the home. Congratulations, you've made it through the new construction process. I know the new construction process can seem overwhelming, but I hope this 10-step formula really makes things a lot easier to understand exactly what should happen and creates a lot of clarity on what you should do, how you should do it, in the order that everything happens. Again, having the right advisor on your side really makes a ton of difference in this process to ensure that you get the best possible home and the best possible experience for the best possible deal. What did I not cover in this video? What are some questions that you have? Drop a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to answer your new construction questions and be your go-to resource when it comes.